One cheerful Sunday morning, my wife Carolina and I were strolling in Monastiraki, a pretty neighborhood in the center of Athens, north of the Acropolis. I adore antique objects, old furniture, old gramophones, old books. All kinds of old things exert a strange attraction for me and have a unique collector's value. Some folk musicians lent a special charm to the authentic ambience of the picturesque flea market square. Suddenly, our interest was drawn by an outdoor exhibition of scientific instruments, antiques of bygone times. The salesman who approached us particularly impressed me. My name is Dimitris, and my job is to distinguish authentic antiques from imitations. These were the salesman's first words. Whatever you see in this small space is strictly scientific, genuine, and functions according to law. Which law? I asked Dimitris. The law that makes musical harmony come out of this gramophone. The law that governs the sky, which places stars in their orbit, and we, with that telescope, are able to observe them. Do you watch the stars too, with that telescope? I asked Dimitris. Many times at night when the sky is clear, I observe the stars. I am enchanted by their glow. If the stars did not follow the path set by the laws, the sky would be pitch black. But stars do follow the laws. This is why they exist and move and adorn the sky. And how do the stars know what the laws are? I asked. All the stars know all the laws because they are intelligent. The stars are intelligent? Carolina asked, surprised. Yes. In fact, they are intelligent enough to abide by the laws of the celestial world with absolute precision. Do humans know these laws? Ignorance of the law is prohibited. We are all obliged to know the law so that we may know why we exist. Do you read many books, Dimitris? Carolina asked him. Yes, I read constantly. I am fond of books about oceans, animals, nature, and especially about the universe and the galaxies. This maxim, expressed by this colorful salesman of scientific instruments, ignorance of the law is prohibited, was imprinted in my mind. In other words, am I obliged to be aware of all the laws of the state, I wondered, as I strolled with Carolina in the bustling square of flea market salesmen. But the laws are many, very many, and new ones are always being passed. Even if from morning to night I read legislation, an entire lifetime is not enough for me to learn. But his is a utopia, I thought. Because the moment that I learn a law, some legislator is drafting a new one, which perhaps will revoke the previous one. Walking absent-mindedly on the road with Carolina, my mind trained on the law and the legislator, a new question came to me. I wonder, in the beginning of the world, what came first, event or law? Events or laws? I thought of A Brief History of Time, written by the intellectual Stephen Hawking. I am certainly not a scientist or an intellectual. However, I have always been a hard worker in the quarries of ancient Greek philosophy, and thus I feel entitled to pose questions to myself, to try using my own logic to provide answers, and then to discuss the answers with the experts.
What are the laws? You and I believe that the laws are permanent, are standard, are existing before the facts. The fact is the result of the laws. Of course, after that we have, and we admire the pre-Socratic philosophers, we have Heraclitus, who said reality is change. Ta πάντα ρει και ουδέν μένει. Then you have Parmenides, who said that change is an illusion. Permanence is reality. And this is what bothered very much Plato, because both these great philosophers had certain truth, but not the whole truth.
If there was a beginning to the world, the legendary Big Bang, at that very moment when the actions of the events began to unravel, that moment when the web of natural creation was being designed, what came first and what followed? do events precede the laws, or do the laws precede events?
It would be unimaginable to have the construct and the fact before the law. Therefore, the laws come first, and they are perfect and autonomous.
Certainly, it is the laws that precede. Otherwise, there would be no world. Not even the salesman Demetrius, who brought home to Carolina and me that we are all obliged to know the laws so that we know why we exist. That night, I delved into Stephen Hawking's Brief History of Time for a fresh reading. From within the pages of the book, the image of the inspired visionary of the universe came to life during his appearance on September the 7th, 1998, at the amphitheater of the Heraklion Medical School in Crete, while his electronic voice still resonated in my ears.
In my opinion, positivism is the unworkable philosophy for a physicist who wants to discover the laws that govern the universe. No one tells what these laws are in advance. Instead, what people have done is construct theories and see how they compare with observations.
The positivism mentioned by Professor Hawking is based on proof that results from these very laws. Therefore, the greatest concern of the researcher ought not to be whether scientific proof corresponds to laws, but Hawking's question, what is law and what is nature? I tried to find something more in the book to inform me specifically about the nature of the laws that are said to follow the events, apart from the theory and the scientific proof of the events that take place in the universe. I was unable to find any other relevant view. In my youth, I realized, reading through the ancient Greek philosophers, that the first principle of all things is that there is no beginning. Thales of Miletus inaugurated cosmological investigation. He believed that the first principle of all things is water, but water does not constitute the beginning of the world. Anaximander of Miletus believed in the infinite, that which never began, and whose totality is indescribable. Heraclitus believed in fire as the cause of the constant condition of the existence of all things. The Pythagoreans sought the essence of the world in mathematical relations that were always there. Xenophanes identified the beginning of the world with a deity that is itself eternal, without a beginning. Empedocles accepted the four self-sustaining forms of being that pertain to the elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Anaxagoras discovered the mind that regulates all matter forever and ever. Democritus discovered the atom, which contains and is surrounded by infinity. Socrates and Plato believed in the universal soul, which is unborn and immortal. Summarizing the sages of the ancient world, we can confirm that there is no cause of the beginning, but only cause of existence, which is based upon one unique reality: laws. Einstein once asked, how much freedom in choosing laws did God have in the creation of the universe? I wish to venture an answer to this question. If the universe had a creator, his degree of choice of laws would have to be infinite.